Yeah, hello and welcome to this video. This is a rapid game on leeches. Yeah, that's new. I haven't done any games on leeches that much, and I wanted to do a little bit more of rapid chess, so a little bit longer time to talk about the game. So I'm playing 15 minutes plus 3-second increment. You don't have the pools on leeches, so I can basically tailor made this according to what I like, and I wanted to have something like this. 15-minute base time I think is good, and 2-3-second increment just to avoid the silly oligas like end games. So let's see what happens in this game. I'm playing Kholpikov, and he went for a King's Indian. Yeah, I mean, he's giving me the bishop pair here, and I'm happy to take it. I expect him to go e5 now, and then I will play d5. So we have a typical King's Indian structure. The c file now opens up. So it seems he still wants to play with f5 here. Yeah, I wonder about this. Is it really a good idea to do that? I mean, if I go queen to b3, I mean, if he goes f5, there is no direct threat, and I'm threatening b7, which is not so easy to cover actually. So I'm trying that. Rook b8, I will just take a7. And yeah, a queen move to the c file looks wrong, or I mean, he can go queen b8, something like that, but that doesn't really fit well with a kingside expansion. That it seems that is what he seems to be trying to do. Oh, so a5 means that I could actually take b7. I wonder, what is he up to? Does he want to go rook b8 and take on b2? But that's still a nice position, right? I really don't see a drawback. Rook b8, queen to c6, I guess. I can go to a6 or c6 here, or, well, a7 is not totally off. Whatever I do, if he takes on b2, I have rook b1, and he will have to trade a rook. Yeah, that looks good. By the way, my rating here is based on just a couple of games. What I sometimes do is here on leeches, I sometimes play rapid games when I'm teaching. So I sometimes basically sit down together with a student, and I'm playing, and I'm basically doing this, what I do now with the video, with the student, but in dialogue. So he asks me, yeah, why did you do that? Or these kind of things. This is sometimes a fun way of doing something different in the lesson. I do that very rarely, but it's something that once in a while is a good fun thing to do. So f5, so he wants some counterplay, and that's very much understandable. Knight b5 is the most obvious move here, trying to get to d6. He will certainly take on e4. Yeah, well, I can just recapture. Yeah, he can, and then knight to f6 and a return. I mean, that must be better for white, but still, this position is really, really nice, and there are a couple of things that I can possibly do here. Can also think about rerouting the bishop, like e2 to b5. Knight b5 is the most obvious move though, and it looks fine. So he more or less has to take, okay, maybe, sorry, maybe knight d2 f6. This is actually something that I should have considered a little bit more. That is a move that makes sense, yeah. He puts more pressure on e4 and still covers d6. He just take. In fact, I was intending to capture with the bishop, but the move bishop to g4 is also quite attractive. No, that's not a bad move. His knight is hanging. He probably has to play knight d to f6, then bishop e6 check. Bishop e6 check. And that is not bad. It's really not bad. On the other hand, just taking is perfectly okay. Knight d to f6, bishop f3. And now I'm just not giving up a pawn here. It doesn't really feel necessary. Yeah, that was to be expected. So I guess to f3, yeah, still covering d5. I don't see other squares having much of a point. So an important thing is that the move e4 for black shouldn't help at all, because it gives me the d4 square. So knight d4 to e6. I actually, what I keep forgetting is that in lead chess I can actually do this during the game. So if they go e4 here, I have knight d4 e6. That is fantastic. So pawn to e4 is not an option really. So what am I doing next? The simple thing to do is just bishop b6, yeah? Bishop b6 and take a5. Yeah, it looks very questionable for black. I don't see a really good opportunity for him. Yeah, this is, as mentioned, quite dubious because of this knight hop. Okay, to e2. Bishop g4 doesn't make any sense, I think. Allowing him to trade. What e4 does is, however, it makes my protection of the d5 pawn a little bit less reliable. I'm only protecting it with a queen, but he doesn't have any means at the moment to increase the pressure on that pawn. In general, the pieces on e8 and g7 are not doing all that much. Okay, goes back to d7. What is the point? Knight to e5, something to e5. I can, however, I can definitely just take d6 here, right? Knight d6, what is the thing? Then knight e5 happens. Okay. Okay, well, my idea was to go knight d4 anyway. I just wonder if I have something better here. That's possible. Bishop g4 comes into consideration in some way. Yeah, bishop to e6 then. And knight d4 looks perfectly logical. Yeah, let's go there. He has knight e5, queen to b7. or queen anywhere, and then knight e6 is fantastic. So let's do it. I don't see much counterplay. He can play like knight e5 and queen h4 maybe. And there, okay. Okay. So knight e6 he will take. Yeah, I mean this is nice. But how nice is it actually? I can also take on f8. Sorry, I mean rook c5, pawn takes, knight e6. That's what I'm trying to say. This is definitely not bad. That's actually very good. Let's just have a look at the alternative there. If I go knight e6 immediately, he takes it. And then what? Pawn takes on e6. Yeah, queen e7. No. Then e4 is just hanging. And d5, there's bishop c5. Yeah, that is also pretty good. Yeah? I mean, e4 is under pressure. Yeah. Both look really good. Okay, so I do this. He has to take, I guess. And now I capture. And now this e4 pawn is under attack. And I thought that d5 wouldn't work due to bishop c5. Bishop c5, rook f6, e7, queen to b8 probably, and then like queen d7. That looks horrendous for black. Yeah, it looks pretty bad. The only thing after bishop c5, I have my rook is not protected and so on. That could be a factor. You can play queen g5 maybe. Rook d1. I don't see a follow-up. No, that doesn't work. Like d5, bishop c5, queen g5, I play rook d1. Cannot even move the rook as the knight on e8 is also under attack. So what is he doing? Knight f6 maybe. This is something. But yeah. Rook d1 probably. It looks pretty bad. At knight f6 looks a little bit tougher than d5. Okay, so my idea was bishop c5, attacking the rook, and then like rook f6, I wanted to play e7. I also have queen to d7 against rook f6. No, that's completely terrible. Yeah, it's completely terrible. What does he do? Cannot do this. No. Bishop c5, huh? It's just good. Queen g5, rook d1, and he doesn't have a move really. f2 is covered, so there is no queen h4. Yeah, I don't see a decent move. If the rook moves basically anywhere, I have queen to d7. And this is terrible. He cannot take my queen, as then the e-pawn will go to d7 and promote. And if you play like queen on queen d7, play the queen somewhere, then a bishop move will threaten rook c8, and that's curtains. Absolutely curtains. Yeah, it feels like I'm winning. I don't see something for him here. I sometimes overlook counter attacks, but I tried to. I looked at them now, yeah, like queen g5 and so on. So here queen to d7 was the move. e7 is also looking quite good, to be honest. But yeah, this is a strong move. I mean, he cannot trade the queen. I attack his queen, so he has to move it again. So probably b8, it looks like. Right, b8. And then I probably have a winning move. Bishop d4 looks pretty good. Attacking the rook and threatening rook c8, which is even more devastating. Yeah, that should be end of game. Okay, so bishop d4 was the move that I was considering. Bishop b5 is also good now. Attacking the knight, it has no squares. But this is strong. Let's do it. Rook is attacked. And rook c8 is the thing. Rook c8, the black queen has absolutely no squares. Yeah, rook c8 is the move. Or is there something that he can do potentially? No, knight f6, I have queen f7 check. I mean, amongst others, probably. But queen f7 does win. Oh, that's actually very true. It's something that I should have considered more carefully. I just quickly check now. I mean, it's no problem. A bishop takes e7. I think it does win because e8 is hanging. Wait, e7, rook f2, queen e8, rook f8 check. e7, rook f2, king h1 probably, king to f7, bishop b5, and that should win, no? Yeah. Still, yeah, I should have considered this a bit more carefully. And now I have to move the king so that the knight is attacked again. He has only king f7, and then bishop b5 is decisive, and the knight has nowhere to go. So I go to h1. If I take immediately, there is rook f8. That's a good. That's a bad moment, really. King f7, bishop b5 is end of game. The knight is attacked, and any knight move, there is queen f8 basically. Or e8 queen, I mean. e8 queen is easier. So bishop to b5 was the move. He has no check. Okay, so what is the quickest way to do it? Is there a way to queen to d7? Makes a lot of sense. Threatening e8, double check, and that's going to be very difficult to meet. Yeah, let's do this. It's even easier to than promoting. e8 queen is just too much, and the knight is attacked. So if he moves the king now, I just take the knight and then promote. I mean, e8 was enough, but this should be fine. I actually wonder how I do the analysis here on Lichess. We'll see what happens. I really have no experience here after a game to analyze. When I did this with students, I usually just copied it into a study and went from there. I'll see here what's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, okay, this game is not over yet, so shouldn't... but I really don't see a reply. Yeah, he resigned. So there is an analysis board. Yeah, let's do it. How does that work? Does he actually see that, my opponent? I don't know. I think he already left, huh? What is this? This is the analysis board. So what happens if I click on that? Okay, so how does that work? We have an engine here. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's go all the way back. So he played this bishop g4 line in the King's Indian. This is a playable line. It is slightly, maybe slightly. You don't see the analysis this way. Interesting. I have to figure this out. Yeah? how to best do that, because the right hand side is now a little bit different. How can I do this that you actually see the lines? I probably should change this a little bit. How I do the screen estate. Wait. I wonder. No. Yeah, sorry, it's a little bit experimental. But this does work. Yeah, you see the lines here. Yeah, the bishop g4 line, and here he played knight b to d7. Usually, if people play into that, they go with this knight, actually. Looks a bit counterintuitive, but it tries to put some pressure on d4, like with knight c6 and e5 or with c5. Here white normally plays rook c1 or sometimes knight g1. Those moves are theoretically well explored. Something like this, I think c5 is actually quite okay for black. I mean, it should be a slight advantage, but the engine likes this quite a bit for white. And I mean, okay, I also rather be white here. Just I like space and so on, but this is what normally is played. Knight bd7 is a bit rare because what is usually the train of thought is that in a situation like that, and black goes e5, that here white should be better because black doesn't have the bishop pair anymore, and it's not so much the pair of bishops, that the light squared bishop is missing, and this makes f5 counterplays a little bit less attractive. In some cases the light squares can be weak. This is what we saw in the game. And remember, the knight came to e6. And the other thing is that sometimes in the closed positions, and we're going to see this a little bit later, you lack the light squared bishop to get play on the king side. Yeah, he now took on d5. This is something that the engine also wants to do. And now knight e8. This is again what Stockfish here is suggesting. Queen b3. Yeah, now the engine wants to play b6. This is of course a move, b6, that you want to avoid. I'm sorry, I'm just have to clean this up here. It's sitting in a fork here. So queen to b7 is the threat, taking the pawn. b6 is the kind of move you definitely don't want to play, but maybe yeah, maybe you have to. The way it was pretty bad. The drawback here of course is the weakening of the light square. So I think very likely I would have played bishop e2 here in this position, trying to do something on those light squares. The engine wants queen c2 and rook c1. There are, it's hard to say what the right move order is. Right? I mean, this is what I would have done, and then f5, and this is a tricky thing. It's a tricky moment. I think f3, yeah, actually. The thing is, if he closes it down here with this and goes for this standard attack, he's not going to checkmate me all that quickly. Yeah? h5, g4. He lacks the light squared bishop to actually force through g4. And there are already pretty substantial weaknesses on the queen side. So objectively speaking, white is certainly somewhat better. In a game it is not easy to do it. It's from purely quality position point of view certainly quite good for white. I would be a bit skeptical about the engine, by the way. In those positions the engine always loves white in the King's Indian, even in positions where black's counterplay is already quite substantial. Yeah, a5 played in the game, and okay, I have to take. I mean, that just makes sense. And okay, rook b8, and he took on b2. So rook b1. The engine is basically agreeing with this play. Oh, I had bishop d1, just trapping the rook. Oh, that was stupid. That was pretty stupid. You know, here I made a typical mistake. I had this planned beforehand, yeah, and I think I played this rather quickly. Yeah. 1 second, and I mean, I saw beforehand that I get to this position which is great for white, and I didn't even look a second time. Bishop d2 or bishop d1, of course, is better, netting material. But as you see, the engine evaluation, how good this is. The problem is that I have a huge space advantage. He's got weaknesses, a5, d6, square weaknesses all over the place. And f5 is a necessary move, basically. You need to get something going. You cannot just wait until white collects a5 and just wins. Yeah, knight b5. Sorry, that was a wrong click. Knight b5. He took it. Yeah, bishop g4, given as better by the engine. This is not something that I'm very surprised about, because it's something that looks very good, but I felt I didn't want to do fancy stuff. Yeah, just keep it simple. As bishop takes e4 is also pretty good, but this is a strong way to play. I mean, I saw this position and felt, okay, what exactly is black's next move? But queen b7 is something that I didn't fully appreciate. Now with rook c8 threatened, black is under fantastic pressure. Knight g8 is the only move giving black some room for the queen, and then you have like, it would have been actually very nice. Yeah? Something I got has to go here. Yeah? Wow. And then this, oh my god. Yeah, it's a nightmare. Okay, but the position also in the game was very good. Yeah, e4 has this drawback of the knight d4 e6 route, which it's already fairly difficult. Bishop g4 is stronger. Is that bad? No. No, it's also pretty good. Yeah, this is something that I thought about. Maybe this is actually right. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to do this and give up the bishop, but maybe this is still the toughest resistance. Taking, and this is good. Yeah, going here, and this is not nice. Yeah, it's just very good for white. Yeah, here knight e6. I was also thinking that this is very strong. I think correctly so, but directly knight e6 is good as well. He cannot cover all that. So d5 and bishop c5, and now queen d7. e7 also wins, but this is convincing. I cannot take it. This and this cannot be stopped. So basically, it's only this move, and now yeah, many moves win. Bishop d4, bishop e7. Bishop takes g7, and the engine already sees a mate here. Yeah, because I get on the 7th, but this is of course not bad. I actually was a little bit sloppy here. Yeah, I should have considered that he can actually still kind of play some moves here, and but it is winning. Bishop b5, and now queen d7 is a little bit more decisive than the other moves. Yeah, so it's a good example of a King's Indian without the light squared bishop being not really fully satisfactory. This kind of situation here is just a bit better for white. Yeah, it's not like black has to lose by force, but it is not what you want to get from the opening. Yeah, enjoyed the video.